Welcome to the channel, everyone. So this is part 2 of the engine run stand videos. This will be the last one. I won't split it into any more parts. But I think I've got everything I need to finish up the stand. I think I got everything I need to get the motor running on its way for next week. But you can see the radiator finally showed up, and I'm not real happy with this radiator. This is a 67 to 69 aluminum three row radiator, and construction wise it looks okay. It's one of those cheaper aluminum radiators you can get. But I've got one in Dad's Camaro. I got one in the truck, and they seem to be working fine. This one's it's got some damage in shipping. You can see this mount here has been bent. That's kind of why I'm not happy. And also, it's painted. It is not. It's not aluminum. Oh, I mean it is aluminum. I just don't know why you would paint aluminum. Oh yeah, this guy here, this lip here is a little bit damaged, but they didn't damage the round. It's still round like it's supposed to be. This side here, this is what it's supposed to look like. You see it's nice and flat. But the reason I went with the 67 to 69 Camaro is because they got these mounting brackets right here. That's why I went with this. And I mean, you can see the width. It's like perfect for this engine stand. I would send this back because of the damage, and the picture they show, it is not painted. I don't know why they sent this to me. I'm not going to wait another week for a radiator because I've waited a week for this one. I'm hoping in a week I'm going to have this engine running on this stand. So I don't know. I'm just gonna try to bend this back, and I'll bend that back, and I'll deal with it. I wanted a nice shiny radiator, but whatever. To go along with this, I got I believe that's a 16-inch. It's like 2200 CFM or something. So it's a pretty good fan. Should blow enough air. Also picked up this little battery tray. I can't remember the name, but like I said, I'll try to link everything that I'm using, guys. I'll link it so you can check them out. For what I paid for this, I couldn't fabricate anything near like this. I mean, I could have bent up some steel. We got a bender, but it wouldn't have had neat holes and stuff like that in it. But I'm going to try to mount this in a way that it can be adjustable. But I'll show you that down the road here. I'm going to show you the rest of the parts that I got for this. So, rest of the parts, I got some stuff for the fan there. I've got a stainless overflow tank, just in case it does do that. Some brackets for the battery tray. Also picked up this. It's a 1 3/4 adapter deal, and it's got a 1/2 inch, I think, NPT fitting, and I'm going to use that for a drain so I can drain the system without making a mess. I'll show you that once I get it. The end, we'll hook everything up, and I'll show you how that's going to work. I've got this switch panel, ignition, start button, couple switches for a fan, and electric fuel pump, I guess, if an engine would have that. And then I've got some Stewart Warner gauges here. What do they call them? They're classic series or something. It's got the nice little, or this little chrome bezel around it. So, yeah, I've got water temperature. I've got oil pressure. I've got volts. I just want to keep an eye on what the battery's doing. That's just what that's for. And then obviously attack. So got the Stewart Warners. These are not like cheap gauges. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not doing this engine stand cheaply, but I'm not like spending a fortune. I just want a nice stand. So I think that's all the parts that I need to finish this thing up with. So I'm gonna shut up now and I'm gonna get to work. I know a lot of people don't like the talking videos, but I've got to explain what I have and my ideas, so there's no getting around to some of the talking. First off, I'm gonna get this radiator mounted, and I got this tubing that's gonna slide in and out of the frame here. That's gonna allow this to be adjustable in and out the radiator depending on what's going on with your motor, how close it is, your hoses. I've got bolts here and I welded them in, and they can lock this down. That's what's gonna lock this down. So I think it's gonna work out. I would have got some square tubing that slid in here, but I could not find square tubing that fit inside of this 2x2 1/8" wall. But this tubing fit pretty nice. I mean, it's got a little room, but I don't want it snug because I don't want to have a problem sliding this thing in or out. I've got one on each side. I'm going to come across and I'm going to connect them, so it don't matter that it's round. And then I'm going to come up, and yeah, we'll get the radiator mounted on here. Okay, so I almost forgot one more change to the stand. I've got stationary wheels on the back now, so they do not swivel. My perches were welded the wrong way, and I would have known that if I would have ordered the stationary ones to begin with. So I kind of had to modify my holes a little bit. No big deal. They're bolted down, so the rear does not swivel anymore. Should have a little more control when you're pushing around, but almost forgot that. So I got a bit more progress done here. I've got a piece of fairly heavy duty angle iron welded to my tubing that I got going in the frame, and I think that's going to work out really well. It's snug, but it's not so snug that you're never going to be able to get this thing out. And this thing, pardon the squeal, it makes some people mad, but this thing will probably, I got 2 feet of tubing, so a person could probably pull this ahead far enough to do a cam swap without actually having to take the radiator off the deal. Because, you know, you take it off, where do you put it? Actually, if you want to take it out, you could actually insert it into this end and just have your radiator sitting over here while you do a cam job or whatever. If you want it completely out of your way, you could just swap it. Should be the same on both ends. I might try it once I get the rest of this built. But yeah, I'm going to show you the frame next, the radiator support. So here's the radiator support. I'm building this on the welding table. For one, it's easier than on the floor, and I'm trying to get this thing square and straight. But I've got it welded. I went with a fancier connection or whatever here because this is going to be seen a lot. So I wanted a nice connection instead of just straight tubing. But I mean, this is way heavier than you really need just to hold a radiator, but this is also going to be the handle that I'm moving the whole thing around with. So I wanted something pretty stout. I think this is 1 3/4 inches. It's not heavy wall. Yeah, 1 3/4 inches. But yeah, like I said, it's not heavy wall stuff, but it's pretty beefy for a radiator support. Got all the clamps here, just trying to keep it from going out of shape while I'm welding. But I'm letting it cool right now. I got to flip it over. I got one more weld to do on the other side. I've got actually got it welded both sides here. I was able to do that right here. Okay, so you can see my support is on the ground. I've been drilling holes out. I can't really get this, I mean, I probably could get it in the drill press, but these holes ain't big enough to cause a problem. But I put the radiator up there where I want it on this support. I want it a little bit above this because you gotta have you gotta get a hold of the fill and cap and stuff like that. Plus I want it above the motor, so yeah, I stuck it on there where I wanted it, marked it, drilled some holes, and I'm actually installing little nut certs or whatever. I'll link the kit I have. Actually, I'll show you the kit I have. So here's a little nut cert kit that I picked up. It's got 5mm to 8mm, and it says 1024. I'm not sure what that is, but 1/4 inch, 5/16. I'm using the 5/16 inch bolt. I think that's big enough to hold that radiator. There's 4 of them. Actually, the mounts the mounting holes ain't big enough for a much bigger bolt anyway. But this tool here, you take your little nut cert. I got the, like I said, the 5/16. And this is all they are. They're just there's a nut in there, and then you put it on your tool, you screw it onto the tool here, and the tool crushes the end of that so it can't come out of the hole. It pretty much, you got knurls there, it expands the whole thing so it can't spin. So it's a really easy way to put a nut into metal. I don't get to use this enough, but it's pretty neat tool, guys. Okay, so I just wanted to get a video here of me installing one of these nut certs. I got the tool opened up. I got my nut cert on the end of it. Now you got to drill the appropriate hole so this fits in there. You want it to fit in snugly. Then you're going to install this into the hole. Now I'm going to squeeze this together, but you got to keep the tool straight, otherwise you're going to have a crooked nut. So you got to squeeze it together as straight as you can. Then you unscrew it. And you got a nut right inside your metal. That's pretty neat, guys. And if you get all your holes drilled right, this is what you end up with. Really like it. I'm not even going to hit these welds with a grinder very much. I'm proud of those. I'm going to let them show right through. Yeah, it's just sitting there. I'm going to throw a few tacks on this thing, and then I'm starving. I'm going to grab me something to eat. It is pulled out a little ways. You can move it closer to the motor, which probably most motors it'll be all the way in, but yeah, I like it. Okay, so I got my radiator support all welded completely on there. I actually took a grinder, opened up the gap there so I get a nice weld on that. I should have probably put a chamfer on it. Would have been easier before I tacked it on, but kind of got in a hurry. I started seeing how this thing was coming together. I got in a little bit of a hurry, but it's solid. It does not, once I lock these bolts down, there's like, I don't even know if there is any flex. If there is a little flex, it's not much, which it's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want that flopping. I didn't want this thing flopping at all, so exactly the way I wanted it. Just finished up my battery tray mount, and you can see that this thing turned out awesome. I can actually put this thing anywhere on the 2-inch tubing here. Literally anywhere I want, as long as it's on the 2x2 tubing, which is awesome. I love that. I'm not committed to having the battery somewhere. I can change it up if I want, which I really like that. So, oh yeah, and then I got my overflow tank. It's actually, it's just pinched. I just pinched it between the radiator mount and the support here, so it's not, I didn't even bolt it on there, but I really like the way it is right there. It's kind of all contained in one spot. So yeah, maybe I'll get some video of me rolling this around, because it's actually not too bad. I was gonna put a handle up here, but I can actually get my hands around here, so I may not put a handle on there. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll move this thing around a little bit. Oh, I didn't lock my bolts down, so there might be a little bit of movement. But if I lock these bolts down, there is not much movement at all. So I got quite a bit of control. I feel pretty comfortable with this thing. Moves around pretty darn good for something with, well, 700 pounds is the motor, the frame and everything. And it could be maybe another 100 pounds or so, but it ain't bad. Okay, so I just got my fan mounted to the radiator here, and this worked out really good. This fan came with came with the normal mounts where you push it through the radiator. I don't really like them mounts, but it also came with these little tabs here, and they fit perfectly on this radiator, almost like it was made for this. But just put some of my 1/4-inch nut certs, drilled some holes, put it in here. Put a piece of foam back here. They already had them in the kits, so I didn't have to do anything except for the nut cert. And then I did put you can see I put a nut for a spacer, just so it wasn't laying completely on the radiator. I mean, it's tight, but it's not on. I don't really like it touching the radiator. So yeah, worked out real good. Okay, so that is done. Another thing I did is, there was styrofoam when they shipped this radiator, and it had gotten inside the radiator, so I blew the radiator out. If your radiator comes with styrofoam, make sure you get all that out. You don't want that going into the radiator. But perfect, worked out awesome, everything. So now the last thing I got to do is I got to figure out my gauge deal, my start ignition gauge deal. I know a lot of guys put their gauges like up here. They'll put their stuff up here. I have a little bit of problem with that, because if you're back here, even something as simple as like adjusting the idle, if your tack is up here facing that way, I mean, you're going to be even stretching trying to get to look at the tack, so it doesn't make any sense to have the gauges there facing that way. Seems like you'd want to be able to see them if you're like right here. You're going to be working the throttle, or even doing timing, or it seems like the gauges should be able to be seen when you're standing like right here. So I guess I got to figure out what I want to do. Seems like over here would probably be a good spot. for them. Getting the gauges over here, that's another thing. So when I figure out what I'm doing, I gotta look at this thing, kind of maybe pretend it's running, pretend I'm doing a few things, and see where I want my gauge pack to go. Okay, so trying to come up with some ideas. I'm putting a gauge panel over here. Got this piece of pipe here. Got a mount just tacked in for now. Just trying to see how this is going to work. Got a bolt right there that tightens this down, and being it's a piece of tubing, I can rotate this around. You know, if I want it straight this way or angled, or want to see it from the other side of the motor, I can do that. That's why that's why I come up with this design here. So we'll see. Got to work on my top piece that'll hold all the gauges here. Okay, so trying to come up with something. We had this piece sitting over by the steel pile. It's really not deep enough to hold the tack, but I'm just kind of getting an idea. Maybe be able to make something myself, something similar like this, a little box. So we'll see. Okay, so I got all my gauges out here, and one thing you're gonna want to make sure you do is you got to get the senders and the wiring kits for all these. I assumed these had the install kits with them, and they don't, guys. So make sure, like your oil pressure and your temperature, they're gonna need the install kits for those. So make sure you grab them. I would have grabbed them with the gauges, but like I said, I assume they come with it. They don't. Like the volts here, all you gotta do is tap into 12 volt power source. You don't need anything special for that. Tack goes to the tack wire. You don't really need anything special for that either. So yeah, just make sure you grab your sending units and install kits for your gauges, because now I gotta wait again. Well, trying to cut a piece of metal for my gauge panel, and the shear started for a few seconds and quit, and I believe we got a bad fuse. I believe this one here is not working, so I'll see if I can find one of these online. And I don't know, I don't really want to cut that the old way, grind it off, but I might have to change up my design, but we'll see. Okay, so I got my piece here. I bent it. I put a 90 in it right here. I'm gonna do some cutting of this edge here. I got a bigger edge than I wanted. I only wanted a 1-inch edge. I got an 1.5 inch there. Without being able to shear it, I wasn't gonna take my grinder across this whole thing and cut it. So it is what it is. I'm gonna try to make something like that, only I want it wider. I need it, or deeper, I guess you'd say, to fit the tack. So I'm gonna start cutting this thing up, and I'm gonna bend this into a box, basically. Okay, so you can see I got one bend in this to start my box. All I'm doing is cutting a little triangle out of the shorter section that I bent. Then I'm going to show you here. I'm going to clamp it on the table, and I'm going to bend this basically so this and this meet. I'll show you. Okay, so I got it clamped to the table, and I'm gonna push it down here. Okay, so I made my bend. I'm gonna put it on the table here so it's flat, and I'm gonna make this so it's square. Got my square here. I'll square it up, and then I'll tack this together here, and then I gotta do the same thing down here. Do the same measurement I did here, and I'm gonna take this end and I'm gonna bend it this way. And then I'll trim this one down at a 45, and then hopefully I'll have myself most of a box anyway. Okay, so I got a new fuse. Actually, it's probably a NOS, new old stock fuse. See if she fires up. Back in business, guys. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out something for a gauge panel, and I had this stainless pizza oven in our trash pile, and I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe using that somehow. I mean, it looks like nice stainless once it gets cleaned up. So I might, I got it tore apart. Some of it don't look like stainless, but I'll use the stainless. The top there is stainless, so. Okay, so I got my box here all welded up, and I got my stainless pizza oven top that is gonna go on top here. Probably just put 2 bolts up here, 2 bolts down there to hold it on. I'm going to try to clean this up before I go any further. Probably use some SOS pads to clean it up. Then I got to figure out where my gauges go. I think I'm going to put my ignition start button over here or down here. I'll put 2 smaller gauges here, the big tack here, and then a smaller, probably the voltmeter down here. But yeah, it's not sure I'm that impressed with my box, but it is what it is. It's a box. I gotta hold my gauges, so I'm gonna get my layout and cut my holes and stuff for my gauges on it. Okay, so I got my gauges all cut out of my pizza oven top, and it's not bad for an old pizza oven top. I actually like that it's got a little bit of character and it's got some scratches. I might add a little more character to it in a second here, but yeah, I just used hole saw for the round holes, and then for the square one I drilled holes on each of the corner, and then just took my grinder and connected the holes. One thing when you use a hole saw, you got to be careful. Most hole saws that I've seen will make the hole bigger because they kind of wobble a little bit. So you gotta be careful. You might think, oh, you get the exact hole saw and then you cut it out and the hole is too big. I like to go a little smaller and then open it up so that the gauges are nice and tight. I did just use this hole saw here, and I might have burnt it up because I'm cutting through stainless. Stainless is harder than regular steel, but these hole saws, they got a nice end where you can quick change kinda your size of your hole saw, and they're a little more stable. And what did I do? 3 1/4 inches, I believe. It's not going to say on there, but it's 3 1/4, I think. Yeah, 3 1/4, and that cut a hole. It's actually the right size, and again I had to kind of open it up because it was a little tight, but I'd rather have to open it up a little bit than have it too big. And there's the piece. These ones don't seem to wobble as bad as the cheapo ones, but yeah, just be careful with that, because you ruin your panel, and you may only have one piece. You know, just like I did. I got one piece here for this panel. If I ruin it, I ruin it. So, yeah, like I said, I might add a little more character to this thing, and then I'm going to install my gauges here, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so there it is. The gauges they're not totally tightened down, but I got them all in there. They're kind of leveled out. Got my control panel on there. I did just mount that with little bolts. Found this box of 1024, which is actually just a little smaller than 1/4 inch, I guess. And the same bolts I used to mount this, and I used my nut certs that I had. I showed you them 1024 nut certs that I had, and I had some of them, so that's what these bolts are going into, top and bottom. And then I took my little mini torch and went on each side just to give it a little character. I mean, it's got scratches and stuff like that. There's even a little ding over here. So it's not perfect, so I figured add a little more character to it. I like it. I really do like it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I got to get it Gotta get it mounted on my upright over there. And then, yeah, I probably gotta get these all mounted up, snug down, and then I'll probably take it off of here, unbolt it, and I'll do my wiring, because a bunch of them, you know, I gotta connect all the lights and stuff like that could be connected into one, and it's just a bunch of wiring, and it's easier if I just pull that panel off, turn it upside down, and do a bunch of it. Okay, so I've got my control panel mounted, and I tried a few different variations, and I ended up going with basically the same tubing that I started down there. I think it's close, maybe it's not the same, but it's close. And I just continued it up. I had some other stuff, I had some thinner stuff, and it just wasn't working out. I felt like it was too flimsy. Even now, I'm not sure I like, it's got some wiggle to it. I ended up putting some gussets on there, but it's still wanting to wiggle some. I was trying to get that out by having the bigger piece there, but I don't know. Hopefully it won't shake. Hopefully it won't shake much with the thing running. We'll find out. But everything's there. It's nice and sturdy. I can push my buttons, flip my switches, and yeah, it's not going to move. I can loosen up this, and I can turn it. So if I want to, you know, go from that side, or if I want it straight on, I can still do it that way. But I feel like I'm probably going to have it like this most of the time. So I feel like that's done. If I got to do some modification later on, so be it. I'm probably going to add a handle. While I have it, and I got a piece here, I'm going to add a handle right here. That'll help me probably when I'm trying to get it on the bell housing, or if I'm trying to get it to drop on the frame there. I'll have a handle here, and I can kind of grab it and move it around. So I guess I didn't want to add something there, but it's there. I might as well use it. So now I'm going to move to the fuel system on this thing. So this is what I picked up. This is a gallon, 1.3 gallon, I guess, is what this is. And this thing is like, they put it on, I guess, four-wheelers and motorcycles and stuff to extend your fuel mileage. There's a bracket. This slides on a bracket. See the center there? It slides on a bracket. This bracket right here, it slides onto it. And there's another bracket, there's a nut inside there, and you screw it on, and that's what locks it in place. So I've got this piece of flat stock here, and it was almost exactly this right size I needed. I drilled the holes out. Actually, I drilled these out a little bigger to fit 1/4-inch bolts. Got my holes there. I'm going to bolt this on here like this. Then I'll put my fuel tank on, and I'll tighten it down. I just thought that this was a kind of an easy way to do a fuel tank. I can take it off and like go to the gas station, get a gallon of fuel, and then even if I don't end up using it all running the motor, you know, I can take it and dump it in the mower or something. So just so I don't have like fuel sitting here going bad. And it's small enough to go on my stand. It won't be in the way. I'm going to weld the bar right across here on the front. I'll have the fuel tank, sitting right about here. I'm going to run the fuel line. I'll run 3/8 fuel line over to it, drop it down in there. It's got a cover here too, so I can seal it up when I'm done using it. But it's got a little neck in there too. And this thing, I can put the 3/8 fuel line down this all the way, and it kind of guides it all the way to the bottom so it don't like curl up too. So I kind of like that. Yeah, this thing really worked out like perfect for this. So I'm gonna get it together here, get it tacked up. I'll set it up there and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so there's the plan. I haven't got it welded on yet, but just doing a test fit, make sure everything is where I want it to be, and it is. I think that's a good spot for it. It's small, kind of out of the way. Be able to run my hose from my fuel pump to there pretty easily. I can unscrew this. It's on there. It's on there pretty good. But all you got to do is, it's easier to do it with two hands. But all you got to do is unscrew this. See, this is the one piece. And then the fuel tank comes out. And you can go to the gas station and get some premium fuel or whatever. And then screw it back on. I like it. I was looking at some fancy aluminum gallon and a half tank and stuff like that, and I just thought let's just go simple with this. Let's just make it simple, and so that's what I did, and I like it. I'm gonna weld that in for good here. Okay, so that's in, welded in. And I guess I've got a plate there. If I want something else, if I find something else I need to hang on that, I can hang something on this side or on this side, whatever. But I think that's going to work out really good. Yeah, I think that's it for like fabrication on this thing. You know, there might be something I might make like a tray or something that goes under this to maybe hold a few things or something. But as far as like building this thing, I think I'm done. I got to go to wiring now, so I got to get my battery in there. I got an old Optima I'm going to throw in there. Got to get my wiring, so I got to run it to the starter. Then I got to run a wire to the starter solenoid up to my push button starter. I've got to get a positive run to the coil. I got to get my gauges hooked up. I got a mechanical oil pressure gauge. It's going to run to right there, hopefully. I've got a electronic coolant. And I believe that goes over here on a big block. It's right there, I think. Goes over there, so. And I've got a voltmeter that's just going to go into 12 volts. It'll tell me, or any power source, it'll tell me. And then the RPM, it's got to go to the tach, I believe, or it'll go to the coil actually on this one. So I'm going to start that now. And probably when I get it done, I'll kind of show you guys the gist of it. But I basically just told you, oh yeah, there's a fan wire. I got to do a fan. So I'll probably have some relays, a few relays to run all this. But I'll show you once I get that done. Okay, so I'm in the home stretch here of my wiring. Here's my gauge panel. You probably don't notice it from the back, but I did add another switch. What that's going to allow me to do is actually turn the panel on without having to turn the ignition. I was just going to have it when I turned the ignition switch on, which when I powered the coil, the panel was going to come on. But then I thought about what if I want to crank the motor over without the ignition on, just to crank it over or whatever, get oil pressure, or maybe just want to crank it over for some reason. So I added another switch right here. This is the back side of it. it actually powers up this relay here, which will power up pretty much everything. This ignition panel, and it'll turn on the lights on the gauges. That's pretty much it. Not a whole lot on here. I have a few, actually I have a bunch of quick connects here for various things. I got, this is actually for the fan. It's going to go to the fan relay. That'll be mounted by the battery. And I've got another one here. This is the temperature sender. This is coming from the temperature sender. And these are all the same ends. So on two of these I put yellow tape on these, so when I unplug them, I'll put yellow tape to yellow tape, and then this one here I've got green tape, so green tape to green tape, and then these ones are different plugs. So the regular ones I won't be able to mix them up. The other ones. Then I've got this is going to go to my starter solenoid. This is the push button right here. So yeah, then I've got, I'm going to have a big ground coming in. I got a big positive coming in. Probably should have had a couple fuses here, but I don't. I might fuse this one right here. And I'm trying to figure out how to do like a disconnect, a quick disconnect or quick plug. Might have to go to the parts store, kind of look around, maybe find something. But I'd like to be able to put this panel in and pretty much unplug it. I'm not going to be able to do that with the oil pressure because it's mechanical and it screws in right there. I did get my install kits for those. This is the original temperature sensor that was on the truck. It was electric, and I went with electric temperature sender. It's right here. Well, these are the adapters. You adapt, or you decide what you need, and then you put these adapters in, and then the sensor will screw inside the inside of it. I've got it here. I'm not real fond, or I'm not really liking this one the best, that sensor, but there it is. I might do something different if I can find something that'll screw into the block a little different, but there it is. And I got I'll hook a wire to that and run it to my gauges. And then my oil pressure is right there. It's going in there. There was this had an electric oil pressure gauge, and it's right here. So this was screwed in to there. So I guess it still would have worked with those headers. But this, I don't know if this will work. Well, this one won't work because the gauge is mechanical. But I didn't know if this electric one was going to work with the Stewart Warner. Here's the nylon tube for the oil pressure. It's just little nylon tube. This one right here is going to go into the back of the oil pressure gauge. It's going to screw on like that. And then I've got this one here is going to screw on where this was screwed on to, right here. And then inside here is you gotta insert your tube. There's a little piece that slides over this tube, and then you tighten this down, and then that's how you make your line. I'm gonna probably make it a little longer so I can use this gauge set on different motors. This is 10 foot, I think. Probably way too much, but I'll probably install it. I'll install it in the gauges, and I'll leave it long, and then I'll cut it and install it once I get my gauge pack set in there. Okay, so over here I got my coil mounted to that upright. Is a good spot for it. And then I had a set of old spark plug wires, and I'm just using that for my coil wire right now because I'd like to use these Morosos in my final destination for this. So I don't really want to cut up my coil wire that they gave me my matching coil wire until I know where it's gonna go. This coil here, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like a big deal, and it's got a plug right here, and you've got a positive, negative that goes, according to the instructions, it goes to the distributor, so that's what I did. And then there's another positive coming off of the coil. That goes to, that's gonna go to my switch. And I'm gonna plug it in and it'll power up the coil. And then this one here is actually the tack feed. It's on the negative side of the coil. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it, I think. You know, I've got a negative on the block there. My big positive, probably not a whole lot of light here, but my big positive is going to my starter. The starter solenoid switch right here, that's where that's gonna go. My push button, it's gonna send power to that. The battery's gonna sit down here in this awesome tray I made. Also, I added another wire here. This is a 10 gauge, I believe. I think that's what Dad's Camaro was. So I got one 10 gauge wire coming off this alternator, and this is a one wire alternator. So all it needs supposedly is one wire going to the battery, and it should charge it up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I got to get I'm gonna do a relay. I'm gonna get a relay. I'm gonna probably put it on the battery there somewhere, or the tray, to run the fan. I think that'll just be easier, because then I'll have one wire coming off that going up into the gauge pack there, and then yeah, it'll just be less wires going in there. I'm trying to do this as cleanly as possible, but there's quite a few wires, quite a few things going on, so it can't be perfectly clean. But I got to get the rest of this wrapped up, hopefully shortly. I need a few things, but yeah, home stretch, getting this thing wired up. Alrighty guys, so I guess I'm done with the stand here. Got my oil pressure gauge. This is the nylon tubing. I just left it all on there. It's kind of acts like a little spring. So there it is on there. So I can, you know, the engine, a different engine has a different spot. I got a bunch of it that I can run to it, I guess. So I didn't trim any of that off. I think that was a 10-foot coil. But another thing is I might leave this coil on the engine stand and just use that coil to run the engines. Unless I got an HEI, I guess I wouldn't need it then. But probably just gonna leave that there. I'll get something for this. I'll get a different coil when this engine goes in something, I think. So yeah, because I've got the little quick connects and everything on this. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave that. I tried to clean up the wiring best I could. I kind of like having this box open. I can kind of see everything, make sure everything's good yet. And yeah, it looks all right to me, I guess. It's you can see in there, but it's enclosed enough where you can't see. So I think I like it. Yeah, I loomed up some of the wires. You know, probably don't need to do that for an engine stand, but I just thought it looked better. Got one of my old Optimas in there. It ain't very good, but yeah, I've got. Oh yeah, I got to show you my my hoses. I got this flex hose for 1 3/4. That's what the big blocks are. I think the small blocks might be smaller, but 1 3/4 here. And then this is my drain. This is the drain I was showing you. This is that 1 3/4 pipe that I showed you with the 1/2 inch NPT pipe fitting on it. Well, I just got a brass fitting that you know, went in there. Then I connected a ball valve So this is open, it's closed, and then when I get done and I want to take an engine off this, I can drain most of it. It looks like this is a little lower, but I can drain pretty much all of it, you know, before I break this hose and make a whole mess. So, and then where to put that fluid, I got one of these jugs. You know, a lot of people put racing fuel in it. They'd get a red one, I would think, but I got this clear one so you can clearly see, you know, it'll be green antifreeze. And I got a little nipple on here that I could put a hose if I want to, I guess. Or I can just let my jug sit right here. It's got a really nice big opening on it, so it should be easy to get it in there, and it's got a handle here, so I should be able to dump it back in the next engine that I'm gonna run. I got my fuel line run down into my tank there. Fuel pump's all set up. I got a nickel copper line. This is actually the old line off Dad's Camaro, the small block. I just kind of bent it up to fit this big block. Got a fuel filter on there and a fuel line. There's just a few things left to actually be able to get this motor running. I run out of vacuum line and just a few small things, but yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. The engine stand is pretty much complete. It's not painted, obviously, but I want to see it working and everything before I paint it. I may end up actually putting the stand up for sale, maybe, possibly, but we'll see. Got a hose here. This is actually for a small block. I was gonna use it for something, didn't use it, so I think I'll just keep this with the engine stand. And then if we put a small block, which probably mostly small blocks will be on this stand, you know, I got a hose right here that I can use. Keep the other one for big blocks. But yeah, real happy, guys. Got tightened a few things down before I fire it up. I guess I could power up the gauge panel. This will turn it on. This powers everything up. So you see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but the lights are on and all the gauges, and there's power to everything here. If I hit the starter button, it would engage the starter. I'm not going to do that yet because it's on top dead center. I got to pull the distributor, so I can't do that. But this will engage, power up the coil. Again, I'm not going to do that because I'm not ready for that. This is the fan. And that thing is kicking out a ton of air. You can see the battery, the voltmeter, the battery is not very good at all. And you can hear that click when I shut it off. That's the relay I got back there. So yeah, guys, real happy with this. I'm gonna stop babbling because this video has probably gotten way too long. I didn't want to break it up into a whole bunch of videos. So this is the last one, guys. The engine stand is done and ready to go as soon as this big block's ready to go. So stay tuned for that, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said, it's probably going to be a long one if you made it this far. Yeah, I will try to link as many things as possible that I used on this, guys. Trying to give people ideas and show you what I did and why I did it and everything else. So I guess, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll see you.